Hello everybody, and welcome to another brand new episode here on 1950's Farm. So how are you all doing? How is your Wednesday going? Or Wednesday afternoon as we are now, of course, 3 PM. That's London time for those that are not in the UK. For the rest of you, who knows what time of day it is. Yeah, so I hope you're doing well. I hope your day is going as good as you would hope and as you expect it to, or expected it to. My day not going too bad. Been doing some things. I'm recording a little bit later in the afternoon, which is unusual for me, because with my heart condition, normally by sort of 3 o'clock, I'm usually tired and I just don't have a great deal of go, enthusiasm, energy or anything within me. But today I've had to do some stuff this morning, and then until probably about half an hour ago, and then I thought, right, I'm going to sit down and record my video. So yeah, a little bit later in the afternoon, which, as I say, is not it's not normal for me. I'm normally long since done recording. If I'm like the last episode in this series, we were ploughing, so normally I would be sort of sat doing something like that, getting ready for the next the next episode. But pretty much we're all caught up. I got the ploughing done yesterday, which was good, and then as I say, today we are out in the field baling away. We're going to have to go onto camera view here because it's a bit hard to see with these trees covers. But yeah, no. So as I say, hopefully everyone's well and we're all doing good. It's been an odd day for me. I don't normally get dragged away from my computer, and today I have. So I took my car for an MOT today, and got on the MOT station where I take it. So it's my local Volvo garage, which is in Pitchbeck. They're not officially a Volvo garage, but they're Volvo approved. So they do the lorries, they do the buses, they do well, I don't know about buses because I don't know if there's Volvo buses, but they definitely do the lorries, they definitely do the service vans and stuff like that, and obviously they do the cars and what have you. And it's a very popular garage. It's very hard to get your car booked in there to have any work done to it, but being a bit of a regular and owning a Volvo, so they do all the other makes as well, but it does say in the garage that priority is given to Volvo customers, and as I say, I have a Volvo XC60. Before that I had a Volvo S40. Before that I had a Volvo the estate one. I can't remember the number. Is it an E40, I think, or is that the electric one? I can't. Or SE 60 or something like that. But it was the Volvo estate anyway. I can't remember what the numbers was. It was many years ago that I had that. So and then I moved to an to an S40, and then an XC60, which I've had now for in and around 10 years. I can't remember, 9 years I've had it, because it was 2016 when I bought it, and the only reason I know that is because it's the same year that my son was born, so I've had it 9 years, and it's doing sort of a sterling job in looking after me, but it has now got a few little problems because 9 years of age, it's some parts are starting to wear on it now, and as from what I understand from Volvo, from the Volvo garage, the person that had it before me was a little bit of a, well, to use their words, a bit of a lively driver. and so things have sort of, some parts have worn quicker than what they normally should. But overall, I am sort of getting, as each problem comes in, I just get it fixed and get it sorted. And apparently when she had repairs on the car as well, she was using mainly not Unipart but another sort of parts for the car that were a cheap version of Volvo parts, whereas I am replacing everything with Volvo parts. So I'm, sort of spending quite a bit more money, but again, they're expensive because they're good. It's the same with everything in life. You get what you pay for, and it's sort of costing me a little bit of money, but I'm sort of getting it done. But yeah, so that's where I was this morning, and I got there, and I said, yeah, I've come for my MOT. I said, and also I said I'm having the brake light switch replaced. I said I want a brand new one. I said, obviously you've already pre-ordered that. And the man looked at me and went, have we? And I went, yeah. And he said, well, I pre-order all the parts here, he said, and I've not pre-ordered a Volvo switch. So I said to him, I said, we did it on the phone last week. I said, when I called to book the car in, and he said, so you just booked it in to have your switch done? I said, no, that you're doing the MOT as well. I said, and you're doing it all while I wait unless someone takes me home. So he said, where do you live? So I told him where I live, and he said, no, we're not taking you home. So I said, in which case then? I said, as we normally do. I said, you do it while I wait, So he said, what time was your car booked in? So I said, 1 o'clock. So he had a look through the book. No, it's not down here. So I said, I called you specifically on the phone last week. Yeah, I know you did. He said, I remember the phone call. He said, but I thought we were going to leave it that you were going to go out and press the brake pedal, and that should activate the switch to turn off the brake lights. And I said, yes. I said, we did say that would be the temporary fix until this week. I said, we both agreed that. I said, and I said, but in doing that, I said, that still doesn't help my MOT, does it? I said, the police are not going to go, oh well, he went out and tested his brakes, so it must be okay. I said, like, that's just such complete and utter nonsense to say that. And anyway, I sort of protested that I wasn't very happy, and he sort of tried to defend himself. So it's booked in for next Wednesday now. And I watched the man write it down as well. I said, I'll watch you write it down while I'm here. Oh yeah, I won't forget. I said, you didn't write it down the last 2 times, did you? And I said, like, write it down now. So he wrote it down. So we are booked in, and then I shall ring him a couple of times before next Wednesday just to keep reminding him to get that brake switch. At the moment, touch wood, I've used the car obviously again today, and the brake lights have gone out. So, but yeah, so things need repairing. Anyway, that's enough about that. But I don't know. I just feel like filling you in on, sort of what's been going on in my day. I just think it sort of helps to. I don't know what I'm trying to say there, but I just think it's a nice thing to do. But as you can see, as I say, we're out in the field. We're baling the first wheat field that we harvested, and most of this straw will go into the straw shed, as much as we can get in, which isn't going to be a lot, but we do need to rebed the cows. So I have checked the cows, sort of computer day. I have checked the cows in the morning, and one barn needs straw and the other barn needs food. So that's something that we will be getting on with. And as I said in the last episode as well, incidentally, I need to talk about the last episode, but as I said in the last episode as well, we will be doing conventional bales. I did say we would only be doing one field conventional bales and the other field silage. That's not the case. We're now going to do 2 fields of conventional bales and 1 field of silage, and then 1 field of normal round hay bales. But I'm possibly going to try and switch the baling over to 50% hay round bales and 50% conventional bales. But also as well, I'm in talks with a horse breeder that's quite away from here, but they're looking for an exceptional amount of conventional hay bales to feed their horses over the winter. And we've sort of kind of put our name forward as the firm that would quite like to to produce their bales for them. They're going to need a lot. They're thinking they're going to need around sort of anywhere from 200 to 500 bales of hay bales, and so we're sort of looking to do that. And they'll also need and require around 150 to 250 conventional straw bales. So as it stands at the moment, they don't need it this year, but they're gonna, the current supplier, their contract ends at this year with them. So the end of autumn this year, their contract ends, and they're looking to go elsewhere because the current supplier of all their hay and their straw apparently not very reliable. Quality is not that great. And also as well, now they don't deliver no more. So it means the horse place needs to arrange and sort out their own delivery. Whereas, in our proposal to kind of provide them with the hay and the straw that they need, we have said that we'll be more than happy to deliver. So hopefully, again as well, that will be of use to them. So yeah, that's what we're looking to do. So as I say, we have, well, I've hired for now a John Deere conventional baler, and whether it be the next episode or whether it be the episode after, I'm not too sure, but at some point we will be out in the hayfields. It'll probably be when the months turn to July, and then we can get on with the hay, because they want the hay, and also as well, they're possibly going to need some straw as well. So I think it's a case of what they're going to do is kind of sample our product, and then sort of decide from there. But we're the most local farm to them, even though they're quite a long way from our farm. We're still the most local to them that have kind of put their names in the hat, if you like. So yeah, hopefully that will be a contract and a job that we can get, because that will help us to bring in extra money, but not only that as well, it'll help us to develop and to do the things that we need to do. Because I've kind of in my own mind sort of thought, would it be worth joining the dairy farm with Harry's farm? I know it didn't happen in real life, but in terms of, I spend 99% of these episodes working for the dairy. They've got the bigger fields, the jobs are more, what have you, and I sort of spend very little time on Harry's farm. And in real life by now, Harry would have left the dairy, would have been making it on his own by doing contracting, and the few fields that he's got, he would be doing them as well. And I kind of got sort of thinking, and I thought, well, actually, maybe we would be better off, sort of joining the farms together and sort of going that way, in that direction. So all the money that we raise from both farms just gets put in one pot, and we go there. And the reason why is because Harry says for many years, machinery was hard for him to afford and to come by. And yes, while some years he would get a really good harvest, or whatever, etc., and he would be able to afford a new tractor or a new implement or whatever, he sort of openly says that it was extremely difficult for him, for the first sort of I don't know, 10-20 years, as far as I can kind of see, that they were sort of picking up machinery here, there and everywhere, and with the expense of machinery that is on this game, I was kind of thinking, well, actually, if we put our money together, we'll be able to afford all of the things that they would get through the years. And I'm not saying that we then deviate from the machinery. So if Harry had a certain brand of tractor, or like the dairies combines and that, and as I discussed as well, the only reason we're now not using the self-propelled combines is because I can't find a gravity wagon small enough to go underneath the auger. They're all too tall, and I just cannot get it under the auger. And sort of my friend Chris has sort of said, well, just sort of bounce it under, it's okay, just get the trailer to lift the combine up empty, and then and I said, no, I'm not doing that. I said, like, that's just not how it's done. I said, like, I no. I said, yeah, I can't find a smaller, and I've like downloaded hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and I had one that looked like it was going to go under, but it has got an invisible collision on it, and I've had it in Giants Editor to see if I can find the collision, and I can't find the collision on it, and so the combine still catches, and because then it spins the combine sideways, and with courseplay that's going to be a nightmare. So again, like I say, I just keep it the way we've been doing it. It's not hurting to do it that way. We've only got to wait until the mid-60s, I think it is, and then we'll be able to have a slightly taller combine, and that then means that the auger then will pass over the top of. Got a bit of a wobble on there. We'll pass over the top of the gravity wagon. So but as I say, yeah, I've been kind of thinking about just putting it all as one farm. Land will be cheaper that way, and what have you. And I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Do you want me to keep it sort of separate and keep it as it is, or do you want me to, or do you think yeah, actually it's not a bad idea to put the two farms together? As I say, we won't be deviating sort of away from what they were doing in real life, although admittedly they didn't grow or didn't produce conventional bales for horse hay contracts. That's something that I'm just adding for sort of kind of game purposes, but it just brings a different dimension to the save and what have you. And as I say, I've been talking to Ray, and he said, that time of life, a lot of farms were doing conventional bales. He said, now I know you've said, and he said, like, that the farms that you're covering, sort of did round bale, he said, which is fine, but he said, I think there's a lot of people out there that might want to see or might like to see conventional bales. He said they're sort of as popular nowadays as people wanting to watch, old tractors ploughing or whatever in the ploughing matches. Yeah, I sort of thought, well, we can do that. I can sort of get that into the narrative of the story, and we can go ahead and do that. So that's no problem. But yeah. So, as I say, a couple of things I want to talk about today. So it is going to be a chatty video, and I can hear the groans from here. I'm kidding. Yeah, so a couple of things I want to talk about. Firstly, as far as I know, and I haven't done the video, as in I haven't converted it to a video and uploaded it yet, but as far as I'm concerned at this moment in time, having watched what I did yesterday back, let me know in the comments, if you haven't done already, whether you liked my face appearing in the video. So essentially, well, you know what I did because yesterday I did it, but as I say, let me know whether you like that, or whether, nah, don't do that please, just do the videos as normal. That's fine. So one of the concerns that I've got is that it might not be lip synced quite very well. I've got to learn to do that, because the problem is I can't plug my microphone into my tablet and my computer. So my tablet wants to record the sound, so I've had to mute the tablet mic so that it doesn't record the sound. Otherwise you're going to get, like, in the video you'll get you'll get the mic and the video itself portraying what I'm saying, but then in the corner you'll also get the sort of tablet thing also with volume, and it will just won't look right. So I've had to mute the bit of me in the corner, and I've tried to, or I will try to line it up with them, so that it syncs, so that it will look like I'm sort of talking. But if I don't quite get it right, bear with me, because, as I say, it's the first ever time I've attempted to do that, and hopefully, I'll be able to achieve it. But yeah, as I say, just let me know, whether you want me to sort of carry on doing that and try and get it right. Whether you want me to just record the bits where I talk, or whether you want me to record the whole of me sort of sat here while I'm doing the time lapse and the things I get up to, because normally I'm sort of, planning stuff and writing stuff down, and different people are coming into the room when I'm doing time lapse, and saying, oh, when you get finished this needs doing, or whatever. So I mean, there'll be all that on there. But if you want me to sort of do it, I don't mind. I'd kind of want you guys to just tell me what's what, really, and what's sort of what you'd like to see. So I will try and keep them professional, of course, but sometimes it's not always possible. But yeah, so just let me know. And the second thing that I wanted to sort of talk about was, yet again this week, earlier on this week, I was recording another episode, and I can't remember whether it was Walter or whether it was Farmers Market series. But while I was recording that, right again at the end of the video, I mentioned something which then triggered a thought, and you know how it goes, and then suddenly a memory starts to get triggered, and I started to sort of very briefly tell a very brief version of a story that happened for a few years, to be fair. And I kind of want to bring it up again in this episode, because these episodes, we do a talky or a chatty video. People have said in the past they quite like them, so hence the reason why I do them. And I will sort of do one a week, or one every now and again, or however it kind of comes along, until people sort of say, actually, no, I don't, but I'd prefer it if you didn't. But one thing I think that does need talking about, and I like to do them on this particular series, because this particular series does get quite a lot of views most weeks. I would say that most weeks we get between 400 to maybe 600-700 views. Certainly last week we achieved that quite comfortably with the 3 videos, but this week so far the videos have not gone, or last week the 2 early videos have not gone too well. I don't know, obviously because I record these a week in advance, I don't know what those videos are now on. They could well have now just kind of exploded and got to the 200-300 mark that they normally do. But the first video that went out last Tuesday, that got two views in the first sort of day and a half, really, maybe 2 days. But as I say, what it is at now, I don't know, because obviously we're a week further down the line when I'm recording it. So it could well be, as I say, well up there. But I told a story, and I think it's an important story that needs telling, and I think it sort of reminds us that we're all very busy, we're all very wrapped up in our own lives, and that includes myself. Sometimes someone asks me to do something, and I'm like, oh, I can't. I've got to record a video, or I've got to do, and then I sort of sit recording the video, and I think, really, would it have really have hurted you to have taken, an hour or maybe 2 hours out of your day to help that person? And it then sort of triggered a memory, and I thought, well, actually, a few years ago, so my nan's probably been gone now for about 7 or 8 years, and she was a lovely woman. She had an excitable side. You definitely didn't want to get on the wrong side of her, that was for sure. But all in all, she was a lovely, kind-hearted woman, but she did have a bit of a vicious tongue if you upset her. But as I said before, she worked, her and my granddad and my nan's brother-in-law, sister and sister-in-law all worked on the first farm that I worked for. So it was owned by the farmers, and I have spoken to them again, and again they don't want me to mention their names, but that's fair enough. For anyone who knows me, obviously knows who I'm talking about, but if people ask me not to mention their names or not to whatever, then I respect that, because I don't want to get in trouble either by them or via YouTube or whatever. Say they owned the farm, but pretty much all of my family at some point worked on the farm. My mum worked there part-time, so she would go there tatey pulling and or potato harvesting. Probably we say tatey pulling, or tatey picking sometimes, I guess we say that as well. But yeah, so my nan sort of worked on the farm, and then when she left the farm, she left working on the actual farm. So I've got pictures of my nan driving the Ransom combines and driving the tractors and drilling fields and ploughing and all of these sort of wonderful jobs that my nan did. When the war was on, I think she was about 10 years old, roughly. No, she'd have been a bit older than 10 years old. I can't quite remember now how old she was, but I know she said that she wasn't like sort of in her late teens or anything. She was still what we would consider, very young today. She was, she had learnt to drive a tractor, and she was a land girl, and and she wanted to do her bit, and sort of feel like she was contributing, and this, that, and everything else. And of course, it meant that she, by the time the war ended, there wasn't much she couldn't do. And when she eventually did leave the actual sort of tractor side of the farm, she then went and worked in the house as sort of, I don't know, she did everything in the house, just cleaning, and cooking and organising, and and basically sort of Jane, who lived in the house, I can say Jane because Jane's a first name, there's millions of people called Jane. She used to say to me when I worked on the farm, Nan's just good to have in the house. She does a little bit, but basically we sit down, coffee and a real good natter, and she'd like, and that's the reason why Nan, sort of still works here. And my Nan also rented one of their workers' cottages off them for next to nothing. And yeah, so it was it was a good time for him. But as I say, later in life, in my nan's sort of mid to late 70s, early 80s, she developed dementia, and this is the bit that I want to actually talk about. But I just sort of kind of thought I would say the first bit, just so you kind of got an idea of who she was, and what she did, and and what have you. And yeah, it was nice to eventually get onto the farm myself and work there with my nan. To think that my granddad had worked there. My mum has sort of in the autumn had worked there. My nan's brothers and sister and brother and sister-in-laws had worked there, and it's quite nice when I eventually did get there, because it was a farm that I'd always wanted to work on, for the obvious reason. And anyway, as I say, later on in life she developed dementia, and I was talking to someone a little while ago. I think it was before Christmas, and I was talking to them, and and I was they was asking me about my nan, and bearing in mind as I say, she's been gone now for about 7-8 years, something like that. And they were saying, is it right that your nan had dementia? So I said, yeah, she did. And I said she went into a care home, and that's where she died. And they were saying, all right. I said, and they, the person that I was talking to, the woman that I was talking to, she said, did you go and see your nan? And I said, oh yeah. I said, I used to go very regular. I said, when she was living at home, I said, I used to go around every day with the paper. I used to go and get a paper for her from the shop. I said, on a Tuesday, I used to take her. This was before I worked on the farm, but on a Tuesday, I used to take her to the co-op. I said, and we'd sort of go and have a coffee, or whatever, and just a little ride out. Or once a month she'd say, well, let's go to Morrison's, and and have our dinner, and sort of make a bit of a day of it. So I used to take her up to Pinchbeck, to Morrison's and whatever, and she really enjoyed those trips out. But then when she got sort of dementia, and life was sort of difficult for her, I'm not fit enough and strong enough to deal with her. So I used to go around there, and I used to just sit in the house, and I said, I used to take the paper, and I'd sit with her for a half hour. I said, and then I'd sort of get off, because obviously I have other things to do. I said, and then like my mum would go after work and just call in and make sure she's okay. And she was only 2 minutes down the road. She had a phone, so if she ever needed anything, as I say, I was literally 2 minutes down the road. We lived from her, so we could get to her quickly. And I said, she had dementia. I said, but on a Sunday, I said, I'd go on a Sunday. I'd get the papers in the morning. I said, and obviously she'd go to, I'd take her to Mum's for dinner for Sunday, so she had a roast. I said, but in the morning, I said, I used to go and sit with her for a couple of hours. I said, I used to go about 10 o'clock. I said dinner would be at 12:15. So I used to go to my nan's at 10 o'clock, and I'd say to Nan, I'd say, oh, tell me about the war years, or tell me about, because my nan couldn't remember her name and who I was and anything like that. But anything from the war era, she could recount it, as if it was happening right there and then, and the smile that used to come on her face, and the kind of the joy that it gave her. And I said every Sunday, I said I'd hear the same stories every week, but I'd always ask her. And the woman turned around to me and said, that's cruel, that is. And I said, what is? And she said, the fact that you would go every Sunday and just do that. I said, why is that cruel? And she said, well, because she said, you're basically highlighting to your nan. I said that, she's obviously, can't remember, forgetful and all of this, and you're just exploiting her. And I said, I'm not exploiting her. I said, you didn't see the joy that she got from telling those stories. I said, because to her, I was hearing those stories for the first time. To her, she was telling those stories for the first time. I said, the fact that someone was asking her about the years that were very important to her. I said they were very important. You've got to remember that my nan lost, a lot of her family in the war, and the fact that I was taking an interest, and I was, sort of helping her to relive that time. I said, meant a lot to her. I said, and anyway, I said something good did come out of it. So she said, well, what's that? Because personally, she said, I think that's disgusting that you were going every week and asking her and what have you. And in the end, because she kept sort of saying that, I just said, well, I said, it was lovely to see you again. I said, and hopefully it won't be for another, sort of 10, 15 years, and sort of walked off because she really annoyed me. And I sort of walked off and got in my car and went away. But it did make it sort of. I'm quite a reflective person, and because I got home and sort of all that was playing through my head, and I was like, yeah, no, I could have handled that better. I could have just said, look, I got to go because I got to be somewhere or whatever, and I sort of like feeling a bit guilty, but. And then I thought, and then I started thinking about my nan, and as I say, it reminded me of a story of, something that we did for my nan that was really nice. So every Sunday she would talk about this woman. Well, she'd always mention this woman. So one Sunday, I said to her, I said, Nan, I said, who was, and I said the Nan, I can't remember her name now. I like I say, it's a long time, and I can't remember her now. I think her name was Florence or something like that. And it's ringing bells anyway. I know my nan's middle name was Florence. Oh no, my nan's first name was Florence, but everyone called her Daisy because that was her middle name. And as I say, like everyone called her Daisy, but her actual name was, which you didn't find out until the funeral. Her actual name was Florence. So when you get the little card with the hymns in and what sort of the order of service sort of thing, like, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, who the hell's Florence? I'm thinking, we've got the wrong funeral. And I sort of sat there and I'm looking at this card thinking, well, do I say anything? And I thought, no, I'm sure, like it's got to be right anyway. And then sort of, I knew it was the right funeral, but I just up until that point I never knew my nan's name was actually Florence, not Daisy. I always thought her name was Daisy, and I always thought Daisy was a nickname, but no, Daisy was her middle name. Anyway, so I said to her, I said, who's this woman? So she said, she was my best friend. We did everything together. We was at school together. Then we went to high school together, and then we went to the first place where they both worked. My nan started work when she was 13. She started working when she was 13, and she worked in a convenience store for the first year of her life. Before, I think it was around about the 14, 15 mark when she moved on to the farm, if I'm remembering it correctly. And she said, oh yeah, she said, like, we'll call her Florence just because I can't remember what her actual name was, Flo or something like that. I don't know, but we'll call her Florence. Yeah, Florence, this, that, and everything else. So I said, what was her second name? And I'm thinking this is the bit where it could get a bit tricky. So just like that, bang, straight out. Eve, she said, get in the car. I said, why? What's up? She said, I'll take you to where she lived. I was like, oh, all right, fair enough. So we get in the car and off we go, and we drive to where she lives. And I was like, okay. I said, does she not still live there? So she said, oh, I don't know. She said, like, she got married, I got married. She said, like, I don't know what happened. So I said, I'll knock on the door, I'll ask. So she said, what? She can't do that. I said, I'll ask. I said, don't worry about it. So I knocked on the door, excuse me, blah, blah, blah. No, don't know, don't know what you're talking about, get lost, basically was, sort of the gist of the conversation. So we sort of came away. So I said to my nan, I said, I said, like, no, she doesn't live there anymore. No, she said, she moved away. So I said, oh, why didn't you tell me that before I went to the door? She said, why? I said, it's all coming back, you see. So yeah, fair enough, so anyway, it was all coming back. So we then sort of drive back. I took her for a ride, like we just sort of ride around. So I lost my Uncle Steve in 2005, and which was her son and like my mum's brother. And she was like, oh, take me to where Stephen used to live. So I was like, all right, yeah, fair enough. So sort of, it was a bit of a drive, but it was, it's okay. It was a nice Sunday. It was passing the time. She was happy and what have you. And so, we sort of went there. So I'm sort of, while she's sort of chatting away, I'm now half listening, but the cogs in my brain are turning. I'm thinking, I'm fairly confident I could find this woman. I thought I'm fairly confident that we could find her. So as I say, we sort of spend the rest of the day together. Take her to my mum's for dinner, and then usually about 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon, she'd be like, oh, I want to get off now, I want to get in and locked up, you know, before it goes dark. So it's like, okay, fair enough. So I used to go where anyway. She would, as I say, you know, sort of take her home and what have you. And that night I got busy on the computer, and at first I couldn't, you know, I'd sort of, it was a needle in a haystack job, you know. I was just like, you know, actually this is going to be a lot harder than what I think. So then I started sort of, because obviously I write, so obviously, you know, part of writing is research, and so I thought, well, let's treat her like a character, and if I was researching a life for a character, where would I go? So then you're sort of looking at like, you know, council records and, you know, different things like that, and then sort of different forums and what have you. Anyway, real long story short, eventually I found her, and I thought, wouldn't it be fantastic if those two could meet again? You know, bearing in mind, you know, Nan has only ever spoken highly of this woman, so I'm, you know, I'm assuming they're friends. You know, I'm assuming that when if they were to meet again, you know, that it would be, you know, sort of, you know, joy. Do you know what I mean? You know, so I sort of go to my Nan, and you know, and while this has been going on, because it took probably, I think, a month, 6 weeks for me to track this woman down, because she had moved away. So she had moved just after the war. Her husband, I think it was, had come back from the war, or I don't know, it might have been a brother or someone, but anyway, whoever it was had come back from the war, and they'd moved up to Liverpool. And I mean, it could even have been that Dad had come home, and, you know, the family moved to Liverpool. As I say, I can't really remember all the details now. Somewhere I've got it all written down, so I you know, I could find out. But anyway, so I go to my Nan, and I said, Nan, you know, so and so. Yeah. So I said, do you want to meet her? She looked at me. She went, are you out of your mind? She's dead. So I said, no, she isn't. So she said, she is. So I said, no, she isn't. She said, I'm telling you, she is. I said, Nan, she's not. I said, like, I found her. I said, and she looks very much alive to me. So she said, what, you've met her? So I said, no, I haven't met her. I said, but, you know, I said, like, from what I've seen and, you know, whatever, because, I mean, I don't use Facebook, but I knew a few people that were very clued in with Facebook and how to fight, and we, as I say, we found her, and, you know, there were recent videos, like, you know, sort of Christmases and parties and that. She was very much alive. So Nan, you know, was like, well, show me her. So I said, okay. So get my tablet, you know, sort of show her. She goes, oh, there she is. Yeah, there she is. So I said, that's her, isn't it? She said, yeah, that's her. So I said, oh, can't stand that woman. I was like, what? She said, I can't stand that woman. I said, what do you mean you can't stand her? I said, you've been telling me week after week after week after week that she said, oh, I've never mentioned her. I said, no, honestly, you have. I said, like, every Sunday I ask you about, you know, the war, and I ask you about, she goes, nah, she said, it'll be you anyway. And I said, well, I'm James, and I said, like, you know, she said, oh, shit, James. She said, I had a grandson, James. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, have I just quantum leaped into another galaxy somewhere far, far away? It's kind of like, you know, this is, you know, the surrealist conversation that I've had, triggered by me showing her this woman, right? So I'm thinking, this is, like, I sort of didn't know what was going on. So, yeah, she said, oh, yeah, she said, like, you know, she said, yeah, I had a grandson called James. Oh, yeah, he used to come around every day, she said, but I don't never see him now. And I'm thinking, I'm fucking standing here. But, you know, you have to sort of, you know, and over the past, you know, few years that she'd had dementia, because she had it for a good sort of 4 or 5 years, you know, there were times and there were sort of bouts where she would completely forget who I was, and then there were other times when, you know, she'd know exactly who I was, and you know, what have you, and, you know, it was like connections were remade and in her brain, and then suddenly, you know, it's, oh, yeah, I know you, you know. And so I was kind of like, you know, I was thinking, what do I do now? Because I got in touch with the family, you see, and I said, oh, you know, Daisy's girls and blah blah blah, what have you. And they were like, oh, yeah, Mum's often talked about her and like, what have you, and Mum's not so well now and what have you. She's got, whatever. I think she had arthritis and a few other ailments. So yeah, my nan's got dementia. I said like, but she keeps recounting stories of your mum, and I was thinking it would be quite nice if they could meet. I said like, them. I said certainly in my nan's case, she might not be here that much longer, and I said like she often talks about her fondly and that, and I said like it'd be really nice, because she was like, yeah, I'm sure Mum would love that. So I was like, yeah, I'm certain Nan would love that too. And then I sort of showed her, to kind of make sure that I was genuinely doing the right thing. And then it was like, so I said to her, I said, why can't you stand her? So she said, oh, you don't know what she did to me all those years ago. So I said, well, what? I said, because you've never mentioned it. And she was like, oh, yeah, she chasing your granddad. So I said, was she? So I'm smiling, because I'm thinking, Jesus, it's like, sort of 60, whatever, 70 years ago, whatever it is, 50, 60 years ago, or whatever. And I'm thinking, by now, bygones are bygones. There's loads of water under the bridge, and everything turned out right in the end. So I'm thinking it's probably not all that big a deal, but clearly, to my nan, it was. You see, and anyway. So I said, oh, all right, Nan. I said, I won't upset you no more. I said, there's no need to remember bad things. I said, like, I said, as long as I know, I said, like, I'll sort it out. So anyway, goes, whether it be the next day or, but another, sort of go the next day or day after or whatever. And I'm in with my Nan, and she's sitting there. She says, never guess who I see the other day. So I said, who did you see the other day, Nan? So she recounted her friend Florence. So I said, oh, did you? So she said, yeah. I said, where did you see her? So she said, oh, she was on telly. So I said, oh, was she? So I said, oh, right. And I was sort of thinking, she's remembering the tablet and thinking that was the telly. So I said, all right. I said, was it nice to see her again? Oh, yeah. She said, I'd love to see her one last time. I'd love to just, give her a hug and, what have you. So I said, oh, you'd like that, would you? So I'm thinking, well, I'm not doing anything on this basis, because tomorrow that might change again. So anyway, I sort of, left it a few days. So I said, we got talking about her again, and sort of brought it up. And she was like, yeah, I'd love to see it. So I was like, okay. So I got in touch with the woman and said, like, Nan would like to. And she was, oh, come here, and we arranged the day, we arranged the time, and what have you. And we're in the car, and where are we going? So I said, well, you've got to go to the doctor's this morning, haven't you, Nan? So she said, yeah, I ain't going there. They stick things in me. I said, yeah, they're needles. It's for blood tests. I said, I have to have lots as well, don't I? So I said, like, it's okay. I said, I'm not going to let none of them hurt you for no reason. So she goes, oh, you're a good boy, you are. So I said, yeah. I said, that's fine, don't worry. I said, and then afterwards, I said, we're going there, aren't we? What we're going there for? So I think we was going to the co-op, and we was going to meet him there for coffee. What we're going there for? So she said, it's not Tuesday. So I thought, bloody hell. So I said, what day is it, Nan? She said, well, it's quite clearly. She said, today's Friday, isn't it? And I was like, no, today's Wednesday, but, don't worry about it. So I said, no, it's Wednesday today. She said, oh, shit, I thought it was. So I said, yeah. So we go to the doctors, and we, sort of do that, and then we go to the co-op, and we're in the car. So she says, like, why are we going there? So I explained to her that we're going. Oh, I don't want to see her. I was like, Nan, it's arranged. I said, well, we could just go. I said, we can be nice. I said, like, it can be a really nice cup of coffee. I said, like, the two of you can catch up. I said, because you got Grandad. She goes, sure, Grandad got to do with anything. So I said, well, you said that she chased Grandad, and like that's why you're not so keen on her. No. She said, no, that's not it. No. She said, she killed my rabbit. I said, oh, okay. I said, fair enough. I said, well, we'll perhaps talk about it to her when we're there, eh? I said, but we'll be nice for a start, won't we? She said, I don't know if I can be nice to her. So I said, we'll try. So she goes, oh, okay. So anyway, we sort of she goes, is she going with her grandson? Then I said, no, I think her daughter's bringing her. So I said, he's bringing Florence to to meet us. So I said, we'll go to the car, we'll have a nice cup of tea. I said, bit of Black Forest, did you like that, don't you? So she's like, yeah, I do. So she said, and you always have? I said, yeah. She said, you always have marble cake, don't you? So I said, no, Nan, I don't know. I said, I always have carrot cake. So she said, oh, fair enough. And so they met up, and it was very, on my nan's side of things, it was very frosty for, quite a while. But eventually she came round, and then we were sort of sat there, and it sort of gone quiet, and then sort of my nan sort of looking up, and then she leant over to me and she went, you never guess what I've just seen. So I said, who? So she said, Florence. I said, oh really? She said, yeah. She said, go over and say hello. I said, well, she sat on our table now. Is she? I said, yeah, you look. I said, she sat the other side to me and you. Oh, and then everything was fantastic then. And honestly, everything was brilliant. And the reason why I kind of felt like I wanted to mention and talk about that story was because I think it's really important that, and it was highlighted again yesterday. So yesterday I was queuing for fish and chips at the local chip van that comes to the village, because we don't have a fish and chip shop. But chip van comes every Tuesday. Fish and chip van comes every Tuesday, and I was getting my fish and chips. An old lady was coming over from the old, where the chip van parks, opposite side of the road is where all the sort of old age pensioners in the village live. It's all the old age pensioner bungalows and that. And this old lady comes out, and I would imagine she was in her 80s, and she's on a walking frame, a little trolley thing in front of her that's got a seat on it. And she gets to where the van is, and it's a really high curb. So I walks over then, I says, can I lift that over for you? And she was like, she goes, oh yes, if you wouldn't mind. So I lifted it over and helped her up the curb. And anyway, when we got to the, when she got to the fish, she made her order, which was fish and chips twice. And sort of stood there, and the lady said it was, I don't know, I can't remember, I think it was about £12 something. And the lady said, oh, I've only bought £5. So the lady in the chip van said, well, it's not really enough. She said, I can give you one for £5. She said, but I can't give you two. So anyway, I went over. The lady in the chip van was then looking at me, and I just sort of mouthed, it's fine, I'll pay. And then I went over there and gave her the money, and I just said to her, I said, you tell the lady you're going to let her have it for free, it'll make her day. I said, it's fine. I said, look, I'll pay, just put it onto my bill. Yeah, that's what we did. And when the lady in the chip van said to the old lady, it's okay, love, I'll let you have them for nothing, and what have you, she was made up, and the old lady was sort of stood next to her. Oh, you never guess what just happened to me. I said, what happened to you? She said, that lady in there's gonna give me my fish and chips for nothing. So I said, oh, that's fantastic, that is, isn't it? And that's kind of why I'm bringing it up, because just sometimes in life, isn't it nice to take a moment out of yourself and to do something for someone else. Yes, the first story was about my nan. It was someone that I knew and someone that I loved, obviously, and what have you, but it was still really nice to do that. And yesterday that really did bring me a lot of joy, to think I'd done something nice. And I think that's what we all need to do. We all need to take a few moments out of our lives to do something nice for people, to do something that makes their life a little brighter and a little happier, even if it's only for a few minutes. And in the same way that for Florence, who met my nan, I mean, she seemed to have pretty much all of her faculties, pretty much. She was absolutely delighted to see my nan, and I spoke afterwards, just for a couple of times. I sort of carried on speaking to the daughter, and I said to her, I said, Nan keeps saying that your mum chased my granddad. So she said, oh, should I ask mum about it? She'd like, mum, can remember everything. So I said, yeah, I'd be interested to know. I said, like, that's why Nan was frosty when she first got there. I said, like, and then after a while, I said, well, you was there. I said, she then whispered to me that she'd seen her, and then suddenly they were best friends reunited. I said, and it was lovely and beautiful. She said, honestly, it's one of the best afternoons of my life. She said, like, and what a lovely lad you are, for sorting it out. I said, well, you've helped. I said, because we've done it between us, And anyway, she asked her mum, and no, nothing like that had ever happened. Apparently, my nan didn't like it when Florence had gone to my nan and said, I'm moving away. And apparently Nan took that very badly, and really wasn't happy. So yeah, but as I say, I just kind of thought I'd tell those stories, because I've been seeing a lot I don't really read the news as such, but people have been telling me about what in the news about people doing this, that, and everything else to each other, and I think it's so much easier to be nice to each other. It's so much easier to do something nice to help a fellow human being. Like yesterday, and I've done it. I've just sort of done things like that in the past, where I went to London and saw a homeless girl, sort of huddled up in King's Cross Station, and just said to her, would you like something to eat? And she sort of looked at me and I said, you can have whatever you want. I said, like, no, but I'll go and buy it for you. And that meant a lot to her, and it was nice for me as well. And I find that if you do something nice, it gives your confidence and your self-esteem a real boost, and it gives you a real good feeling, and it can brighten your day as well as theirs, and I just think it's really lovely. So as I say, that's the reason really why I've sort of told the story. But I am going to have to leave this episode here, because it has gone on rather a long time, and if you're still reaching the end, thanks ever so much for listening to me, listening to my stories, and I hope it maybe has inspired us all to go away from this video and to do something nice for people, for someone. Just one kind act every day would make this world a much better place. But as I say, thanks ever so much for listening. Thank you, as I say, if you've got to the end of this video. I really appreciate it, and I can't wait to see you in the next episode, and we'll be back to a normal episode in the next one. You'll all be pleased to hear that, so it means you haven't got to sit and listen to me for nearly an hour. Thanks ever so much for listening, thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.